made you the host?
Yeah,
Oh,
I can.
perfect. Okay, so then what I'll do is I'll just leave basically, and then I'll send you a link to the drive where you can upload it, Google
Okay,
Drive.
sure.
Cool. Perfect. Thank you so much.
No worries. Hello, Mai.
Hello.
Hello.
So just with us.
Hello, welcome. How are you?
Very good. What time is it over there?
In Barcelona, it is right now 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I assume it is later in Vietnam.
Yes, 8 p.m.
Great. So I'm sorry that it's so late for you. Some people are joining in the waiting room. I'm going to admit them in the rest as well in a second. We're just going to wait a bit until everyone slowly drops in, just so you know. Yeah.
Mọi người đang chuẩn bị vào. Yeah. Hỏi thăm gì không? Nói chuyện, bắt chuyện. Thôi để cho nó được thoải mái. Để cho nó thoải mái. Vâng, nói chuyện với chị.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Jessica.
Hello. How are you all?
I'm good, thanks. How's summer in Barcelona?
Getting too hot. Besides the fact that Barcelona, generally speaking, is already very hot in summer, thanks to climate crisis, it is becoming just hotter. So we're suffering a bit with that. How is it right now? Where are you located at right now? Oh, Hanoi in Vietnam.
It's also summer here, so pretty warm. Sorry, a lot of people are coming. I think Vitaly made me the host, right? That's why I'm able to.
You have co-host abilities. And I'm hosting today's session. So yes, it will take some time for everyone to join. So let's give it a bit of time. Right?
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
So if everyone comes up, we're expecting about 28 people today.
Sorry, I accidentally muted you. My fault.
No worries. Hi, Cynthia. Thanks everyone for coming in on time.
Hi, Mai. How are you?
Good, thanks. You good? You settled? You had dinner? Ready for class?
Yes, had some dinner. No big storm, thank God. The big storm was last night, all the big rains. It was
yeah.
full on here, but all quiet tonight. So all is good.
That's right. I like the conical hat. In the
Yeah, well, I'm sitting in the showroom because it's kind of the most easiest setup. So that was easy.
no. Jessica, just out of curiosity, have you been to Vietnam before?
Personally, I have never been fortunate enough to visit Vietnam in my past. Unfortunately, I just hear the best about how beautiful it is, but I haven't had the chance so far.
Well, soon, I hope. Now you have a lot of friends in Hanoi. You're going to have a lot of friends in Hanoi.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, Sean.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too. Hi, Cynthia.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Good, very good.
Are you already know each other? That's amazing.
No, not yet.
Okay.
Just saying hello.
Just being friendly, that is very nice. I will later on also ask, as soon as we start the session, I will ask everyone who feels comfortable to turn on their cameras to get to know each other a bit more. We will have a quick introduction round as far as it's possible, because if we're 24, 20, up to 28 people, it might take a bit of a time. So let's see what we can make happen with the time that we have. But I think it would be really nice to see each other, to get to know each other, especially for the upcoming weeks. I think it would be really nice for some of the exercises we do that we can talk to each other on this kind of basis. But we go into that later.
So I have gone through the translation for your slides. It was a quick review, but I think it's more or less okay, understandable.
Yeah, I've tried. I'm sorry if it's not so good as it could be. I try to do it next time with the rest of the presenters, maybe a bit earlier, so you also have a bit more time to review them. It's obviously using a basic Google Translate tool. So
yeah, I tweaked some parts.
okay. So yeah, it's hard for me to see. I think sometimes if it's a language that is at least close to mine, like for example, French, Spanish, and all of these kind of things, that I can kind of understand if it's more or less going close to what I'm aiming to say. But Vietnamese is beautiful language, but very not close to English or German, unfortunately.
Yeah, because it's a tonal language. It will take some time to master. Google Translate has gotten so good, like, you know, all the Vietnamese translators are seriously worried what will happen to their jobs.
Let's see.
I think they're really safe, Mai. It's not that good.
Do you use Google Translate often, Cynthia?
Not so often. A little bit. Actually I do use it, but then I check it. So, but just for short things, usually, you know, messages and stuff that if I'm not quite sure of the times or whatever, and I'll just quickly do a Google Translate and then see if it kind of makes sense with what I know. Sometimes it does, sometimes it does not, and then it's kind of weird.
I see, yeah, but it's helpful in most
Yeah,
cases.
yeah, but not for big slabs of thing of text, because that's when it starts to get pretty ugly, I think. But it is, as you say, it's a whole lot better than it used to be.
Jessica, do you know what time the speaker is coming in?
Sorry, I'm going to be the speaker for today. So I'm already here.
Okay.
I was just writing my colleague, Daphne, because I don't see her here yet. So I was sending her again the login credentials for Zoom to make sure that she has everything that she needs to join. In any case, I'm here and I'm going to do the presentation and introduction to distributed design as a representative of Fab Barcelona today. And I would say we could probably start in a few minutes. Maybe we want to wait a bit longer. What do you think, Mai?
Yeah, I think we have like maybe 1/3 of the participants here. So let's have about, I think at least 16, 17, and then we can start. And the rest they have to catch up.
In any case, we have the presentation, and thanks to Mai as well, a translation and English as well as in Vietnamese content provided. So for anyone who will join later on, can just check the notes, and I will share the Miro link with all of the content later on. So we hope to make the content as accessible as possible for everyone also to read up to when joining a bit later. I know it's maybe more of a difficult time to join in the evening after work, after having the whole day passed already. But let's see.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã tới đúng giờ nha. Chắc là mình chờ thêm một tí nữa, cỡ đến giờ 15 xong rồi mình bắt đầu. Với các bạn mà có cái trở ngại về ngôn ngữ thì ban tổ chức đã cố gắng để dịch nội dung của các cái slide sang tiếng Việt. Bạn nào có khó khăn có thể tham khảo phần dịch tiếng Việt.
I've seen that live transcript has been enabled or requested, and I enabled it. So I hope maybe that helps as well. Also from our side. Because also some of our people are quite diverse in background. So we will have people from Italy and from Brazil and from all different kinds of countries who are part of Fab Barcelona, who will also be speaking in the next upcoming weeks. So they might have an accent that is in English, maybe more difficult to understand for someone who's not close to the language. So I'm trying to read while I'm saying the things down there in the transcript. It seems to be working quite well. So thanks for technology to make this possible.
Amazing.
Yeah. Mai, do you think I can give like a slow introduction? It would take a few minutes just to kind of like welcome the people who are already here. And maybe by then also more people are starting to join. I hope that works for you. So first of all, welcome everyone who's here. My name is Jessica Guy, and I am the representative from Fab Barcelona, who is going to be part of this journey with you together for the next 5 weeks of the project of the Distributed Design Academy / Masterclass. I will share in a moment some slides to explain a bit the masterclass itself, and what is going to be part of it, what is the timing, the content, the speakers who will join, and how each class will be divided in subsections. Until then, I just wanted to say again a big thank you for the people who make this happen and the organizations behind them. So I want to just give a big thank you again to Fab City Foundation, UNIDO, UNESCO, and UN-Habitat, who are some of the representatives also here today and who make this possible for Ha Noi Creative City. I'm very happy to hear that quite some people have applied to be part of the Distributed Design Academy / Masterclass. I see some people already here, but I acknowledge as well that the fact that maybe this time slot is a bit difficult for some people to join, and maybe not all people will be able to join all of the classes. Hence, we are aiming to document the whole academy in Miro, which is a platform, an online platform, which I'm going to send you a link to in a second. For the ones who are joining to the sessions, here's the link. We will use Miro for all of our exercises. We will do collectively or in alone as a singular exercise. So feel free to already join this one in particular, which is for today's class, and you can get yourself a bit familiar with this tool. Furthermore, we're going to use Google Slides. I think maybe this is a very commonly used tool already. All the links, as usual, will be provided in the Miro all in one section, so it will be always accessible for everyone to look into afterwards at any moment, also during the week to catch up, to get familiar with the topic that was discussed maybe prior. So if it's okay for everyone, I would start with a little introduction round. Besides myself, I see many other people here, and it would be lovely if for everyone who is attending to turn on their cameras to get to know each other. If you don't feel comfortable, that is completely fine. I think it's just very nice to see the people's faces behind their voices. And May, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, and then maybe the rest can join afterwards.
Maybe I can start then. You didn't give us any starting order, so.
No, you can just go ahead. No orders. I'm not going to dictate. Please feel welcome to turn on your camera.
Great.
And
so my name is Kjell Sundin. I'm with UNIDO, United Nations Industrial Development Organization. I'm based in the headquarters in Vienna, and I'm the project manager from UNIDO's side on this joint project together with UNESCO and UN-Habitat, who are working together with Hanoi City. And I will be, let's say, a passive participant in this training course. I'm very curious to see what will happen. And I'm certainly not gonna take the floor much longer than needed. So I will be happy to hand over to the next person to introduce him or herself now. Thank you very much.
yeah, also feel free to do it in Vietnamese. When you feel more comfortable in that. Your peers will most likely understand, and I'll just listen and enjoy.
Mọi người ơi, mình hãy bật camera lên và giới thiệu bản thân một chút nha. Nếu mà bạn nào muốn giới thiệu bằng tiếng Việt á, thì cứ thoải mái. Mai sẽ cố gắng dịch qua tiếng Anh.
Hello, so can I be the next one? So hello everyone, my name is Anh Tú, or you can call me Tú. I'm from Hanoi, Vietnam, currently an active member of Maker Hanoi. I have the base in like electrical and telecommunication. Currently I'm the last year student, undergrad student. So yeah, so I'm very interested in this course. Like I love making projects, but I don't really understand how to share it properly. So I think this is a huge opportunity for me to learn from you guys and sharing our project we have been working on. Yeah, so that is for me.
Cynthia.
Thank you, Tu. Can I just inject a quick comment? Sorry, Jessica. I don't know if you want to record the session for the purpose of those who come later.
Yes, already started.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Go ahead. Cynthia.
I'm Cynthia. I've got a business called Tradition. I work with ethnic minority textiles producers. Mai told me about the project, and I'm kind of really interested in ways to collaborate, particularly, I guess, with digital design, but also find ways that maybe I can help or work on projects with my suppliers or collaborate with some of the other people in this project and bring my supplier or my textile producers in as well. I'm not really sure how or whatever, but I am really interested to see what unfolds.
Thank you, Cynthia. Anyone else who would like to share?
Chào tất cả mọi người, mình là Giang, năm nay 27 tuổi, là nghệ sĩ độc lập và là activist về giới. Thì mình thì rất quan tâm đến những cái chủ đề về hậu cấu trúc và giải thuộc địa và các vấn đề liên quan đến đô thị hóa với môi trường, và mình cũng quan tâm đến các mảng về sáng tạo nữa. Rất vui khi được làm quen với mọi người.
Just in case, maybe I'll make a quick translation. I hope I get everything. So Zhang is, this is new to her, but she's interested in post-architecturalism, I hope. Hậu kiến trúc rồi cái gì nữa Giang nhỉ?
Hậu cấu trúc, post-structuralism.
Okay, post-structuralism, urbanization and social issues in general. Zhang is also a keen photographer.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mai. Anyone else who would like to speak up and share who they are? Again, more than welcome to do it in Vietnamese.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I am Vanya. Yeah, and I am the freshman of the USDA, and I came from the Fab Lab of USDA in Hanoi. Yeah, and I just the first years, and my major is I want to follow the IoT, and so today I started a project to use the camera for watch the I'm not really understand very much about because my specificity knowledge is still not very much, but today I want to join the this workshop class to improve my distribute them to share my project to everyone. And thanks for occur that class.
Thank you very much. I think especially session number 3 might be really interesting for you. We will talk about open source technologies and also how to make an open source and how to share them distributedly. So maybe that will be interesting beyond all the other ones, maybe specifically for you.
Hi everyone. Sorry, my computer doesn't have a camera. My name is Hường. I'm currently an internship at the Maker. Formerly, I participate in PubLab USDH. It at Hanoi, University of Science and Technology of Hanoi. I'm very happy to join this course. I'm very interested in engineering, science, and creative. I hope to cooperate with everyone in the future. Thank you everyone for this course.
Thank you very much for sharing and introducing yourself. Anyone else who would like to share?
Hi everyone, my name is Tới from Maker. I am a software engineer and I am interested in VR, AR, Metaverse and AI and IoT, Internet of Things. I am also interested in find the beautiful simple thing and make it more make it clear with everyone. Thank you for this.
Thank you very much for joining. Nice to hear as well. So for everyone else, there's always the opportunity to share on the chat as well, if you would like to, your name and where you're located at, if you prefer that as a secondary option. And in a few minutes, May, sorry, go ahead.
We have one last person who's here that still hasn't got a chance to speak. An Hữu An, do you want to speak a few words?
Em chào mọi người ạ. Không biết chị Mai có nghe em nói không? Em là An, em đến từ Mingle Việt. Em năm nay là sinh viên năm nhất và em có với cả robot và IoT và em hay làm các DIY về điện tử. Hiện tại thì em cũng đang ngồi trên chuyến tàu từ Hà Nội, từ Hải Phòng đến Hà Nội nên là cũng hơi ồn, mong mọi người thông cảm ạ.
Cảm ơn An.
Great, thank you for sharing. So if it's okay for everyone, I would start the session with the introduction to distributed design and the academy, if I may. For this, I'm gonna share my screen. And let me just go to the right. Oh, 1 second, I have to go to the right screen, multiple ones. Let's go over here. Amazing.
Hello, Jessica. If you're
Yes.
recording, maybe we could inform those that came in late, perhaps.
Of course. So as mentioned earlier, we are recording the session, and besides making a transcript of the session, to make sure that the ones who are not able to attend today, that they can review this to any moment during the week. I hope that is fine for everyone, and we will make the recording afterwards available also for everyone.
buổi học hôm nay sẽ được ghi hình lại á, để các bạn có thể review sau lớp học, cũng như là cho những bạn mà không có đến được vào giờ này á. Mong mọi người mọi người hiểu ha. Nếu mà có cái vấn đề gì với cái việc ghi hình thì mọi người cứ trao đổi nha.
Thank you, Mai. So I'm gonna start ahead, and please feel free to interrupt me at any moment if something is not clear. I've shared before the Miro board, and I'm gonna actually share it now again just to make sure everyone has it. One moment. Oops, let me just stop share for 1 second, because maybe for the ones who joined later, this is not available. So you will see here 2 documents. The first one is a Google Doc. For that, I've made a transcript thanks to my also hopefully more or less proofread in Vietnamese, and the Miro board, which has all the documentation. So you will see there each slide has a small text to join my presentation. So I hope that help a bit if there's anything unclear. So I'm just going to go ahead with the presentation now. So welcome everyone to the start of Distributed Design, the Academy or Masterclass, how you may want to call it. My name, as I mentioned before, is Jessica Guy. I work at Fab Barcelona. So the idea for this program is that it will be a 5-week program. The first session today, and then each session will take place on a Tuesday, always at the same time, which is 8 o'clock your local time. So for each of the session, they will be 2 hours long. The first hour, we will have one guest speaker joining us. For today, it's going to be me. And for the next sessions, we will have others. Then after the inspirational talk by the guest speaker, we will have around 10 minutes or 15 minutes for Q&A, where you can ask questions in the chat or personally if you prefer. And the speaker will be there to answer and to discuss any ideas you might have or any questions you have. The second part, after a short break, will be dedicated to an exercise that we do either alone or in a collective manner. That could mean, for example, today we will do an exercise which is alone, but next week it could be, for example, an exercise we will do in Miro together to assess a product's life cycle and material usage, etc. So it will be depending on each week each week's topic. So for today, we're going to talk about distributed design in general. Next week, we're going to talk about sustainable practices. Dr. Marion Real will come for this session. She's one of our team members here in Fab Barcelona. Afterwards, on the 28th of June, we will have open source practices. Oscar Gonzalez and Guillaume Camprodon will join for that. Guillaume is the director of the Fab Lab here, and they will both share their experiences and some practical hands-on projects. On the 5th of July, we will have a session about inclusive practices with Olga Trevisan. And lastly, on the 12th of July, we will have a session about collaborative practices with Milena Juarez and Alessandra Schmidt. So let's start with today's session to talk about what actually distributed design is and what that means in practical terms. So we will go through our agenda topics with an introduction. Then we will highlight some special aspects of distributed design. I will showcase you 3 examples where distributed design has been applied in the local context by makers, designers, craftspeople, and just generally people who are interested in making things happen. And lastly, I will give you a brief overview of the distributed design platform, which is maybe also for you an opportunity and a space to connect with other creative people around the globe. So what is distributed design. I'm gonna go here. So distributed design is an attitude on how we make things. So let's think about a product, any product that you might have around you right now, and think about where it has been made, where it's being used, and where it's being discarded after its product life cycle. So it could be any product, from the shoe that you're wearing, from the headphones that I'm wearing right now to talk to you. And if you look into the products, it's you will see that, for example, clothing will have a label that will indicate where something has been made. With the headphones, it's always already more difficult to identify where something has been made, who was the designer, how can I adapt it maybe to my personal usage. So oftentimes what will happen is that the point of traffic is quite high from where something has been originally made and where it's being used and where it's ending in the end. No? So you will see here, for example, this was an example about a shoe, an Adidas shoe, that is made in one area and then distributed all around the globe. And then actually where it's discarded is a whole different area. And unfortunately, with fast fashion and increasing innovation and, well, a very capitalist consumerism, this is just becoming worse. So we're having a quite fast pace on how we see, buy, consume, and discard. What we end up is, unfortunately, with spaces where products that are seemingly at the end of their life cycle are being discarded, and they are unfortunately having an incredible impact on our surrounding and our environment. So what you see here is, for example, in the electronic sector, you see how quick the new iPhone comes out, how quick a new product comes out. And this has a huge impact. Electronic waste has, for example, a huge impact on our environment. And unfortunately, this is becoming an everyday reality for some of our most vulnerable groups as well, who most likely have been not the cause of this waste of products. And this has brought us to a state now, which many of us are considering a climate emergency. So what happens when we actually try to shift this consume, produce, consume, and throw away culture? How can we actually change this paradigm in our own practice when we make, design, and produce? And with that, reduce an ecological footprint of the products and democratize the access to a qualitative design. And with that, also expand the market and make it more available for people to design and manufacture. So this is what we are looking into with distributed design. We want to have an impact on lowering the ecological footprint of products. We want to democratize access. And we want to enable more people to be part of designing and making and being a manufacturer themselves. So how and where can the distributed design, the idea of it, emerge from? Distributed design was enabled by three main digital revolutions. So one of it being communications. We have the internet. The other one is computation, which is smartphones and PC, the innovation within that. And the last one is fabrication, which is the means on how we produce things. 3D printing with a CNC, that could be also small scale manufacturing, crafting. With this, we have created conditions for our own moment to transition towards a new industrial paradigm. So distributed design is igniting in revolution towards a new decentralized mode of production and manufacturing, driven by regenerative principles, gathering actors connected by the internet under new disruptive ideas, emerging from this post-industrial landscape, and is fueled to reduce the planetary impact and inequalities that comes through that. So what you see here, instead of what you may have seen here, is the idea of, instead of having a product that is produced somewhere, being consumed somewhere else, is then being wasted, maybe something has been extracted here, is we're moving towards a different model, which is called DITO, data in, data out, which means that instead of materials and products, what is moving around the globe is actually data, so information through the internet. And then this information can move from anywhere, for example, from Hanoi to my hometown in Germany in the countryside. And then I can fabricate the same design in my immediate surroundings. But not only that, it's not only about being able to produce the same design anywhere in the world, but it's also about customization to our local context. So what maybe on materials are there in Hanoi may be very much different from a German countryside town. So what is interesting there is to not only understand that we can make open source designs available, but is how we customize according to our context to use materials that make sense for our context, to adapt designs to our immediate communities that are in need or engaging with these kind of designs. So this is then what we call the data in, data out model. How can we make this production almost anywhere happen? And this is a really good question, because there's one way in how we as Fab Lab Barcelona and the general Fab Labs are contributing to that. So beyond moving data from A to B, you want to also produce the design that you have in mind. There are over 2,000 Fab Labs, almost 2,000 Fab Labs all around 100 countries. All of these Fab Labs share a similar or same inventory and are able to produce with digital fabrication means whatever design which is being shared. So that means, what does that mean in practical terms? So for example, yet again, I'm in my hometown in Germany on the countryside, and I'm designing a chair, for example. And I adapted it to my locally available pine wood because it's grown more ecologically in a manner that is less disruptive for my environment. So I decided to design it with this material. But then there's my friend who maybe lives in Brazil, or she lives somewhere else in Japan or wherever. And there's a different type of wood available, which maybe has effects on the design, because instead of using 2 centimeter wide pine wood, she uses 2 centimeter wide oak wood, for example. So she gets the design online, which I've shared and made openly available. She checks the file and thinks about, how do I make this here? I have the machinery, I have the tools, just as Jessica has in her Fab Lab in the countryside of Germany. And then she can adapt through, for example, parametric designs, which means that the variables of the designs are adaptable. The same thing in her local makerspace. Obviously, you don't have to only engage with Fab Labs, but there's also other maker spaces, craft spaces, repair spaces, or maybe you have some machinery and tools at home. So you could theoretically make any of these products that are available online in wherever you are. So what is your role or our role in this idea of distributed design? So the designer's role is actually to evolve and adapt to this new digitalized world we are in. The idea is that distributed design is a new approach in which we utilize this global hyper-connectivity which we're living in, that makes it possible that I'm sitting here in Barcelona right now, and that you are listening from Hanoi, Vietnam, to something that I'm speaking about. And that we're using this global connectivity to move data, information, teach each other, share the knowledge and how we do things, instead of the products. it has already a huge, we're already missing out a huge impact from me not traveling to Hanoi and doing this online. So that's already a good way to go towards this idea. This approach really rethinks how things are being produced, what materials are valid, how can we enhance also the customer's relationship to these products, because it has a different value if we choose to design in a way that uses sustainable materials that are co-designed maybe with the community members. And this is a value that we want to share with anyone that is interested in engaging with this product. So how, because distributed design and open source products and digital fabrication, that sometimes all are very big words that maybe are not as feasible to understand. And what we always like to say is that we can think about it like baking a cake. And that is something maybe anyone can think about or has experience with. So basically it's like using a recipe. When you make a design, you make your recipe for your design available. You tell what you need, how much you need of that, how things are being put together. First the eggs, then the milk, then the flour. Same thing with your chair. It's like I first cut the wood, then I make I screw things together. So it's step-by-step process. And it's the same kind of mindset that we're trying to share here. And then when you bake something, you actually use the ingredients you have available at home or in your local store. You're not, yeah, exactly. So this is about what I try to share a bit. So think about distributed design, think about open source, a little bit like how you are baking a cake or how you're making any recipe at home. So my question also is, what makes it maybe special? What attributes of distributed design is special? We have 4 specific values that we're really trying to convey with all in our work and all of the people who engage with the distributed design methodology or mindset. So number 1 is that we're working ecosystemic. There's again a word that is explaining that we work on different levels, on different scales, not only locally, but distributed globally. We can work online, we can work offline. This is connecting different kind of platform, different kind of tools, connecting designers and makers and manufacturers and directly to the market. That means that we're supportive in the way we work. We promote designers and makers. We want to showcase their work. What we design is always open. So we make everything accessible for anyone to make these designs themselves and hope that we, through that, share the benefits to makers, designers, and consumers and really force this change that we're looking for. And regenerative. Regenerative means that we're rethinking how traditionally products are being made. So moving away from this product in, trash out model, but moving towards a data in, data out model. And for that, we're doing this through distributing fabrication locally and how low kilometers supply chains support that, also open source distribution, and really carefully thinking about which material we are using. A little bit in detail, ecosystemic, which I was mentioning before. There are some tools which are available to connect. So global connection, for example, could be tools like FabLabs.io, where you can find any Fab Lab around the world, or MakeWorks, where you can find manufacturers around the world in specific regions in this case. It could be also meaning that on a local level that you're connecting the different maker spaces, Fab Labs, creative spaces, as we are doing through this academy. Then open design, which just means in particular open source licenses For example, you could publish your work on Wikifactory, is one of the main platforms where you can share open source your products, the bill of materials that you're using, and the instructions on how you produce your product. Or also, for example, GitHub or GitLab for the people who know that as well. And this also means that we're standardizing products and processes for other people to replicate it easy. And what is also very important to know here is that we're looking forward to more transparent supply chains to know where the material is coming from. Then always, whatever we engage with is collaborative as much as possible, obviously, to share designs, to remix, to encourage people to use any of our designs, to adapt it to their local context, that designs can be shared in their authorship, that we can design as collectives, that I don't have to do things myself. We can share skills and knowledge. And lastly, regenerative. So we're designing, when we are designing products or when designing services, that we're really having circularity in mind, that we're making sure that our design, our intervention, our process, our whatever idea we have in mind is situated in our local context and aware of social constructs that might be determine that use of the design. And that we sometimes think beyond also sustainability. So what other things are connected to our design? And I wanted to make this a bit more practical because these are all words, but it's always great to see some examples that showcase how distributed design in specific is being done. And also don't fear that maybe this will only be the only example shown, because throughout the next 5 weeks, you will also see different approaches to distributed design, different approaches on how you can implement it, but also more tools and more methods and more practical advice on how you can apply the same mindset and methodology within your context. So I'm going to share. Okay, now. So now I'm going to firstly share the Mingle Club, which is a local initiative from Barcelona, from Barcelona, which it is a design collective of 2 people who are originally from Belgium. They are both themselves interested in making tools available to create your own plant-based protein as an alternative way of consuming your food. They are both very much aware of the impact that meat has on the environment, and they're both vegans and want to share that an alternative diet is approachable and interesting for anyone to apply themselves. So they're building these tools to make fermented foods at home. They have started with the idea of wanting to share how to make tempeh. And they started with this idea and experimented themselves. How can you make tempeh? What kind of surroundings do you need to have? Is it already popular in Spain or not, or in Belgium? And from this experience, they slowly started to test and iterate different kind of designs on how to ferment food at home. What they've come up with now in the end is this design you see in the upper right, which is an incubator in which you can put your legume of choice, so soybeans or any beans in general, also lentils, with the bacteria that supports the growth of mycelium. And this incubator then keeps a steady temperature for several hours, I think around 30 hours. And through that, the mycelium grows through between the beans. And then what comes out afterwards is that the mycelium grows and it combines all the beans, and you have in the end tempeh, which can then be made in any amazing recipe into really delicious and very nutritious food. They've experienced also a bit more artistic ways of how to get in touch with making your own food. So what you see here, for example, is another version of the incubator, which is made with the heat of your body, because it's around the same temperature that you need as your body heat. So within 24 hours-ish, you have tempeh grown, mycelium grown with your own body heat. And the part that is maybe more connected to distributed design is actually the tools and the machinery they use to make their design. So all of these designs you see here, for example, for the incubator, they're all available online for anyone to replicate in their city, in their town, wherever they are at, with hopefully as much as possible customizable attributes. So you can change the design to whatever material you have available. So they already decided here to use an alternative material, which is a recycled material, instead of the resource wood itself. They're aiming here to use a recycled material. And then these molds you see down here, they're 3D printed, and they have made really fun shapes as well to experiment a bit with how we can design our food when we engage with it. So this is one of the examples of democratizing the access of making this specific type of food anywhere around the globe. Another really nice example is pupilera. During the COVID-19 pandemic, there was the big need of making sanitary equipment more available. That has not only shown through the face masks and similar, but also through making more stations available where you can wash your hands. So there is a design that came out called EcoSync, which is made with digital fabrication tools, which means a CNC machine. So it was cutting the wood, it was 3D printing some of these parts, laser cutting these doors, for example. And this design they have made available online on Wikifactory again. And then there was a need from a local school for young children to set up more sanitary stations in their town, in their school. So they have engaged with the Fab Lab Newton, who then adapted this design further for their local needs in their school. So what you can see here is the first design that they made, which is a capybara, which is the local animal of that region. And they adapted the design also to the size and to the environment which is in. So they knew that they're going to work with very young children, around 5-year-old. So obviously the height of the sink has to be adapted. They made it more playful, more immersive for the child to engage with, to not make it something that is harsh and maybe something that they wouldn't like to engage with, something that is playful. Hence they made the capybara design for this. They added some fun colors. So this is again an idea and how something has been designed and made for a specific need. Afterwards, it has been made accessible online. And then someone around the world, in this case, it was Brazil, had a need of doing something similar, found the open source design, and was then able, through a collaboration locally, through the Faculty of Architecture and Urbanism with the Studio N and the director of the kids' school, to adapt the design to their local needs. So really a great example how distributed design has been applied in the last year. And then lastly, what I would like to share as an example is an initiative together from the P2B lab, which is in Greece, with the Zoo Makers. Zoo Makers is a makerspace in rural Greece, where they're specifically focusing on agriculture. And they, together with their local community, have engaged with refugees who are in their immediate surroundings landed and currently located at, to collaboratively learn about open source technology and digital fabrication means, engage with the technology, and then make tools in this area. And the specific one that was for small scale agriculture together for their needs. So afterwards, the final design is shared on the area where the refugee camp is. So the people there can grow their own food, whatever they would like to. They not only grow their food, but also were engaged in the whole process of designing the growth system themselves. So this was a really nice example as well. So lastly, I'm just going to share with you the distributed design platform. And as soon as I stop sharing the screen, I will also share with you the link in the chat. The distributed design platform is basically the space where we connect all of these people. It is a website on which you can find other makers, other designers, other attendants. You see events going on all around the globe. And it's funded by Creative Europe, a project by the European Union. And we have 16 to 18 active members in Europe who are participating in this year's edition or this next funding cycle of distributed design to ensure that it is diversified and that they have their own activities, they have their own kind of learning activities, as well as their own actions to apply distributed design in their countries. So there's all different kinds of activities such as summer schools, residencies, we're doing publications together, we're going to conferences, there are distributed design awards as well, and we're making every year a documentary about the process as well. So you see here on the bottom the link to that, but I will share it as well in the screen and the chat afterwards. So that was a brief introduction to distributed design, what the idea is behind it and where it has come from. I would be open for any questions that may come. I'm happy to clarify anything that is maybe not clear enough. And thank you for your attendance and listening.
Thanks, Jessica, for a really interesting presentation. I think that the slides where you were showing the recipe for baking, that's a really nice and simple analogy to distributed design. Mọi người ơi, bây giờ mọi người có thể đặt câu hỏi cho chị Jessica nha. Không rõ mọi người thấy cái khái niệm thiết kế phân tán nó như thế nào, có bổ ích và khả thi với mọi người không?
Yes, you can just unmute yourself if you would like to.
Yeah, I saw that someone raised hand.
Thank you, Jessica, for the presentation. I think it's really an impressive project, and I recognize that it's kind of similar to FOSS, which is free and open source software. So can you elaborate more on how are they similar and different with each other? Thank you.
No worries. So how are they similar and how are they different? I think in many ways they're similar and in many ways they're also different. So maybe I can elaborate just on a few topics, but in general, what we are looking for with distributed design is that it is encouraging as an ecosystem for all different types of existing initiatives as well. So this is kind of a framework where we have, at least within Europe, and we want to cross these boundaries as much as possible as well. a framework that we have, an area of research that we have that is supporting specifically young talents with monetary support to give them visibility, to give them chances to learn in other places, that make it also possible, for example, for us to share experiences that we have with these different type of talents and designers and makers that have around the world. To share these experiences also with you in different contexts. So for example, now together with UNIDO, we're happy to share our experiences with that context and frame it within an academy that shares you some principles within that. So how we from Fab Barcelona applying, for example, open source technologies, how we are applying inclusive practices. So I assume this is how it is maybe different, but what is similar is that we are sharing a similar mindset. So there are many initiatives out there, for example, also precious plastic or many other ones as well, probably, that are sharing the same idea, where we're saying we want to democratize access to tools and knowledge. We want to make sure that people are able to design and make anywhere in the world. And each of us has their own focus. So precious plastic, for example, focus specifically on plastic. Whereas, for example, open source hardware and software is maybe focusing more on software and hardware. And we are more focusing on general design. And design that can be an intervention. That doesn't need to be a product. Design can be creating a workshop yourself for your community about learning about open source hardware and software. And that can be designing a workshop. So that's what we're trying to convey also with this academy, that design doesn't mean always making a product. I hope that answers somewhat your question.
Yes, thank you.
Maybe I'll just comment a little. I think the idea of making things open is common across hardware and software. But I think for hardware, it's a little bit more challenging because in the end, there are still like atoms, right? Physical stuff. So how do we, that's not something we can like easily homogenize across the world. And that's why I think it's important to have the local adaptation, as you mentioned in one of the slides. So that's one's perspective in terms of how free and open source software is different from open source hardware or yeah.
Yes, most definitely, you're right. I think it's a very important aspect that we always try to highlight, that everything has to be contextualized that you do, because just what works maybe, as I mentioned before, in the countryside of Germany where I'm from, does not mean that does work in Barcelona where I'm located in right now. So what is then just shared in between is an idea or an approach to do something, but then it's being applied to the local context, designed possibly, hopefully, with the community members you want to work together with. And that makes it more valuable as well for wherever you are at. Yes, Xiao.
So thank you very much for a very, very interesting presentation. I belong to the generation that still appreciates new technology with a little bit of fear now and then, but I Google everything when I need something done at home, how to put the screw in the wall or whatever it means. But I never give credit to the one who told me how to put the screw into the wall. And you mentioned at some point how, or that designers that upload a design in the system basically gets credited. How does that work? Can you, if I have a very brilliant design on something, do I get like gold stars when people are downloading my design, or how does that work?
Good point. I think there are two aspects to that. It is not only the validation you might get through other people saying you've done great work. So, for example, you see that maybe on GitLab and GitHub, when people upload something there, you'll see that a resource or an idea or an instruction is being downloaded or replicated a lot. That is a really good sign. So, for example, for the ones who are close more to software design, I think they'll know what I'm talking about. But that is a really good sign. If there's a lot of community members behind it, it has been forked, it has been replicated quite a lot of times. That is really good. And the other aspect which we have to take into consideration here as well is with diversity, it always gets better. So if there are more people who adapt your design or use your design and further iterate it, it means that it's not only you working on your design, but you have many people around the globe who use it and figure out, oh, you know, that one problem that you had, I fixed it over here in Italy. And then the other problem you had, another person fixed it over in Poland. So wherever you are. So that is a really nice aspect of making your designs. It doesn't matter if it's software or hardware or like product designs or interventions or whatever. If you're making them publicly available, there are all of a sudden many people working on those. And it is a really, I think, rewarding work and rewarding to see as a person who has initiated that design. So for example, if you see Dave Huckins, who is the initiator of Precious Plastic, he had this idea to make machines for recycling plastic. And it was his master thesis. And then all of a sudden now what we have is a community of plastic recycling people all around the globe who have adapted their designs for their maybe local context, have made the motor of the shredder better, or know how you use acrylic needs a different temperature actually as HDPE. And all of a sudden, it's not only Dave Huckins and his brain who has to think about all of these problems and how to solve them. All of a sudden, it's many people around the globe who are able to support and share the same values and share the same ideas. And then afterwards, make this also, again, available. So you don't start again with A, but you design number A, which Dave Huckins has shared, but you start with design number C, which another person has made, which is already way more elaborated when I'm joining. So this is a really, really nice thing to see how collectively we have this collective intelligence and we can work on these things and we can share it afterwards. And then no one has to start from zero, but we can just build on top others people's work and give each other credit for that.
Great. So we do get an internet gold star of some sort when we start. But I
Yes.
like your point also that someone helps me, you know, refining my idea and improving it further without me having to asking for it. It might happen by its own, which is obviously incredibly nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Toy, you also had a question.
Em xin phép em được nói tiếng Việt ạ, bởi vì cái này nó hơi dài em khó diễn tả. Thứ nhất là em nhận xét về cái mô hình của distributed design ấy, thì là em thấy nó có các nhược điểm. Tuy nhiên là các nhược điểm nó cũng có những cái thách thức mà mình cần phải giải quyết, thì em muốn đặt câu hỏi về những cái như thế ạ. Thứ nhất là đầu tiên là nó tiết kiệm cho mình rất nhiều là chi phí, bởi vì mọi người không cần phải là tốn cái chi phí đi lại hay là tốn cái chi phí mà vận chuyển hay gì đấy. Nhưng mà mọi người phân tán như thế thì làm sao, tức là mình lại phát sinh ra một cái vấn đề là communication, là mỗi người ở một vị trí khác nhau, thì cái việc mà mọi người trao đổi với nhau ấy, thì làm sao để cái phía bên sản xuất họ hiểu được cái phía bên design, thậm chí là phía bên design các bên design nói chuyện với nhau làm sao để hiểu rõ ràng hơn Vì mà mình biết một cái bài toán là khi mà mình được nói chuyện trực tiếp với nhau ấy, hoặc là cùng vẽ trên cái bảng, hoặc là mô tả đại khái cách thức mô tả mà trực tiếp ấy, thì nó sẽ làm cho clear và dễ hiểu hơn là nói chuyện online với nhau ấy. Nhất là mình có một cái vấn đề như thế. Cái thứ hai là nó có cái điều nữa là tận dụng được gọi là các dạng, em xin phép em vẫn chưa nói hết ạ. Thứ hai là mình đại khái là mình tận dụng được cái sự tập trung là mỗi một người ta chỉ cần focus vào cái việc của người ta thôi. Đấy. Nhưng mà chính vì thế thì mình lại có cái vấn đề của việc implement, tức là bên design làm rất tốt của bên design, bên product lại làm rất tốt của bên product, nhưng mà làm sao mà cái việc mà implement đấy xong nó chỉnh sửa thế nào. Bên design không phải có cái nào nó mới nghĩ ra idea xong implement cái nào nó cũng hiệu quả ngay được, mà nó còn phải có cái sự điều chỉnh. Đấy. Thì bên design họ làm xong và bên product họ làm ấy, thì làm sao mà để mình có cái cách thức nào ấy để nó sẽ là nhanh chóng sửa đổi được ạ. Đấy, thì em nghĩ là nếu mà mỗi bên ở một chỗ ấy, thì mình đương nhiên mình focus, nhưng mà nó lại có cái sự độ trễ trong cái việc mà mình vận hành với nhau ấy. Đấy. Cái thứ ba là mình có một cái nữa là bởi vì là phân tán cho nên là mình tận dụng được rất nhiều, tức là cái việc content kết nối được của rất nhiều người ấy. Cái idea cũng là từ rất nhiều người đến. Đấy. Thì khi mà cái đấy đương nhiên là tốt, bởi vì mình tổng hợp được rất nhiều idea, rất nhiều ý tưởng, rất nhiều cái sáng tạo. Đấy, nó hơn là một tổ chức nhỏ nhỏ. Đấy, nhưng khi đấy thì mình lại phát sinh ra một cái nữa là cái cơ chế đánh giá. Khi mà mình đã có rất nhiều ý tưởng, rất nhiều lựa chọn này, thì cái cơ chế đánh giá như thế nào, làm sao mà ví dụ cả 1000 người, cả 100.000 người cùng đưa ra ý tưởng ấy, thì mình sẽ lựa chọn cái ý tưởng như nào, hoặc là có cái cơ chế ranking của các member cùng đưa ra ý tưởng thế nào ấy, để làm sao cho cái việc lựa chọn đấy nó đạt cái sự hiệu quả nhất ạ. Đại khái là em có 3 cái nhận xét, 3 cái câu hỏi như thế ạ. Em xin lỗi là em không thể diễn tả được nó bằng tiếng Anh ạ. Chị diễn tả giúp em ạ. Em cảm ơn. Thank you.
Cảm ơn
Thank you for sharing. Sorry, I was interrupting you. My fault.
No worries. Actually, I want to type the third thing that I mentioned before I forget it. Tới cái ý thứ ba mà bạn vừa chia sẻ là làm sao để mà có cái cơ chế đánh giá về hiệu quả của dự án, đúng không?
Chị ơi, cái này là ý em khác, là khi mà mình có rất nhiều nguồn, tức là đây là cái việc mà mình tận dụng được cái kiểu cái ý tưởng hay là những cái thiết kế từ nhiều nguồn khác nhau ấy. Tức là cái điểm mạnh của phân tán ấy là mình có thể tận dụng được từ rất nhiều địa phương, hàng trăm hàng nghìn địa phương, và mỗi một địa phương họ lại có một cái ý tưởng, lại có một cái phương án gì đấy, thì làm sao để mình biết tận dụng được cái đấy. Ví dụ là mình có 1000 cái đóng góp, là sao mà mình sử dụng hiệu quả 1000 cái đóng góp đấy, tức là mình phải biết được là cái đóng góp nào là tốt hay không tốt hay gì đấy, đúng không ạ? Cái nào là khả thi, cái nào không khả thi. Thì nhưng mà có quá nhiều như thế thì làm sao mình phải có cái cơ chế để mình chọn lựa đấy. Thì cái việc chọn lựa như thế nào? Dạ vâng.
Rồi, chị cảm ơn tôi.
Dạ.
Okay, so the third one is how to evaluate and select maybe a good design out of like maybe 1,000 ideas that are contributed by the community.
They're all very good topics that you're mentioning there, and there are definitely also challenges. So thank you very much for being so on topic already. It's really nice to hear that you're seeing these things. And I might not have all the answers for these things, or I'm going to be very blunt here, but what I can share is that with every way we work, there will always be some disadvantages, right? So maybe sometimes the traditional way of producing, consuming has certain advantages because it's fast, we can produce many at once, but the big impact that we're having because of that is on our environment, and it's an immediate danger for us as well. It's not something that we can forget. So what we're offering or what we're sharing is a methodology or a mindset that's called distributed design in this case, or open source, or whatever you want to call it, which has this more in mind, maybe has more in mind the society, the environment, and all of these aspects we really do have to care for, but therefore is lacking maybe on other ends. Hence, it might be a bit slower at times, it might be a bit harder at times for the engagement, but in the long term, when we're seeing it, what is valuable for us and what is needed for us as a society, I think we're going into a right direction. And some of these things in certain contexts or in certain environments that you might work in, these things might not be that much of an issue. And I'm talking about, for example, the speed of execution. So if you have a project idea and you're sharing it online, and there may be very many people that are interested, I share with you the doubt that it's very slow at that time. However, as soon as you pass that moment of ideating, finding the right people, I think as soon as you have the right people and everyone shares the same passion, then it actually can become very fast. So maybe there is this one moment in the beginning that makes it a bit of a stretch. But if as soon as you identify the right project team, then it becomes very, very quick. And that's something very nice, because that doesn't mean that you have to be distributed. It could also be now, and maybe you find some people within this group, which would be amazing to do a project with together. And you're all in Hanoi, I assume. So you maybe share already same interests and same ideas, and maybe this could be the great framework for you to find something to do something maybe a bit more quicker. But taking time is not always something negative. Taking time sometimes gives us time to think about things we need to take into consideration. So for example, some environmental aspects of the material that we're choosing, some societal aspects for the people who are engaging with the product afterwards. Maybe we should include them into the design, which maybe makes it a bit slower, but then we know for sure that this product we're creating in the end, or the service that we're creating in the end, is of value for this group of people that is our target audience. So it's a bit of a balance that we have to make, and some things we're better at and some things we're not so good at, but I think it's worth it in the long run, no? And how to evaluate and select a good design? Oh, that is a difficult question. And I think it's very dependent on who you are and what you're aiming to do. I think if you have very clear what you're looking for, and you see, for example, on Wikifactory, you're looking for an incubator, let's say it because it was the project I was sharing before. And there might be 20 different designs. Maybe if you set yourself a quite good framework beforehand, it will already help you to decide which design is the one you want to try. So you know your target audience, you know which materials you have, you know the capabilities you have, for example, for software you can use, or which machineries you have. So all of these things beforehand, when you think about them, they already narrow down maybe some of the options that you can choose that are available. So that might already help you. And then the other thing is that what was also mentioned before with Shell, is that maybe there are some that are already recommended by other people. Some people have already made adaptations or have already given feedback. So if you see, for example, a code on GitLab, the one which is shared for a project which has a lot of contributions for community members is probably a good one to go for, because there are a lot of people who can help when there's an issue. And it's similar with any other thing. If you have a project that is using electronics for an incubator, again, I'm going back to this topic, and you have a problem with making the design, you know that there's a community behind it you can ask. You're not alone with the problem. So this is always a good thing to have in mind when choosing. But don't underestimate that there might be a newbie somewhere, a little black swan of a project that has no recommendations so far, but is an amazing design, and you just have to give it a try sometimes. And then maybe this will be worth it, maybe not, no, but just to mention it as well. I hope that, yeah, answers your questions, Toy.
Well, such passionate sharing. I have problems, like serious problems keeping
Sorry.
up.
I get very passionate about this, about these topics, and it's hard to keep myself slow and quiet with these topics.
That's a good thing. Excellent question and answers. Tới có cần chị dịch phần nào không em? Tại vì,
Cái này em hiểu rồi, em đại ý em hiểu hết rồi. Cảm ơn chị ạ.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I'm understand. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your questions. If there are no more questions, we could maybe take a tiny break and then come together again to do a little exercise together, which will be very valuable for the rest of the academy. My colleague Daphne is also here, and she will be here to help us facilitate the session. We will do a small exercise, let's say at past, which is about your profile, what your expertise is in. You already shared a bit about this when you were applying for the academy, but it would be great to just do it as a common exercise as well, and a bit also in your area of interests. So I think that would be really valuable for later on, for in the end of the academy. That will probably take around 15-20 minutes, something like this, and we will have a short wrap up after that. So I would say we take a 8 minutes break, if that's okay for everyone. We're a bit late, but I think it's good to freshen the mind in between.
That sounds good. Thanks, Jessica. Mọi người ơi, bây giờ mình sẽ nghỉ giải lao 8 phút nha. 9 giờ 30 mình quay lại để cùng làm một cái bài tập sẽ hữu ích và thú vị cùng nhau. Sau đó thì cái bài tập thì sẽ mất khoảng 15-20 phút. Rồi mình tổng kết và mình có kết thúc chương trình ngày hôm nay. Cho nên mọi người quay lại đúng giờ nhé.
Hello, everyone. I know it was a short break, but I hoped it was enough to get a glass of water and refresh the head a bit. Great. So some of you might have already met Daphne. Maybe Daphne, you give a brief intro.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you. My name is Daphne and I work for Fab Barcelona and I'm a designer and an architect, well, in principle. And we're working now with Jessica. I'm assisting Jessica in this academy, and I hope we get to know each other more in the future, the following week. So yeah, we have prepared 2 exercises, introductory, just to get to know each other and think a little bit about yourself and your ideas related to the topic. And yeah, that's it. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Daphne. So Daphne will be, as she mentioned already, will be with me here for the next 4 weeks with you and today. So yeah, I'm gonna share again the Miro board. I don't know, I saw some people maybe connected from the phone, so I'm not sure how it will be for them to be able to access the Miro board. It's more easy, I would say, with a computer. I do, yeah, I do have the app on my phone, but it's maybe not everyone has it. So Daphne, would you like to, I can share my screen and maybe you can introduce the exercise. Would that work?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Ở đây có bạn nào chưa dùng Mirror không? Mirror là một cái công cụ để làm việc nhóm. Cũng có lẽ là ở Việt Nam mọi người quen dùng Mirror hơn, đúng không? Nó cũng hơi giống nhau. Mà cái này thì nó advanced hơn chút. Nếu mà bạn đang xem màn hình trên máy tính thì nó sẽ dễ hơn. Còn trên điện thoại thì là hơi khó để mà làm bài tập này á. Thì nếu mà bạn nào có khó khăn vì đang dùng điện thoại á, thì có thể là đánh máy gõ cái thông tin của bạn lên trên cái chat box, xong rồi Mai có thể copy vào trong cái bảng Miro ha.
Okay. I hope everyone can hear me well. If you can, please let me know. So the first exercise that you see here in the black canvas is more an exercise to think about skills and to identify, do a bit of self-reflection, self-assessment on your stronger or weakest skills. So the idea is we have 5 categories that are physical computing. So that includes electronics and coding, also creative coding, hardware and software development, arts and design that could include, I'm sorry if it's noise at the lab, graphic design, visual arts, photography, animation, fashion, whatever is related to creative design industry. Then we have designing for fabrication, which is more related to digital knowledge, 2D and 3D modeling software, parametric design, taking into account fabrication methods and techniques. And then crafts, which includes artisans, hand tools, crafting techniques, woodworking, ceramics, for example. And then project management, which has to do more with organization skills, business thinking, marketing, branding. So I'm sure you all come from different backgrounds. So some of you might are stronger in one category and some in others. So it would be nice to understand this for the future. So the idea is to list these skills from the strongest to the weakest. So by one, you would choose the one you would think you are stronger at. And then you would hierarchize them from 1 to 5. So you can only use one number in each one, if that makes sense. So for me, for example, it would be, I would be stronger in design and for digital fabrication, and then I would be in design and art, so I would put 2. And then I would do electronics and coding at 3, crafts at 4, and then project management 5. Okay, so my strongest skill would be design and fabrication, and my weakest project management. Is this okay? Maybe I give some time to Mai to translate.
So yeah, you're all invited to, as Daphne mentioned, to choose one of these templates down here and just try it out.
Write your name and using the guidelines above. Yes.
Okay, let me translate a little bit. Cái bài tập này là tổng quan những cái kỹ năng của bạn á. Thì trong nhóm có nhiều thành phần khác nhau. Có bạn thì từ thiết kế, có bạn thì từ kỹ thuật hoặc là công nghệ. Thì mọi người có thể đánh giá cái thế mạnh của mình qua cái sơ đồ này. Thì trên đây là có 5 mục và mình có thể cho điểm từ 1 đến 5 á, để ví dụ như là 5 là điểm mạnh nhất của mình. Trên đây có nhiều cái ô self assessment á, thì mọi người có thể điền tên của mọi người, chọn một cái sơ đồ và điền tên của mọi người rồi tự đánh giá vào đó. Jessica, do they need to have a mirror to sign up for mirror before they can use this?
Normally, you just can enter as a visitor and you do not have to sign up for it.
Exactly. We can make sure that it's edible by everyone, but usually there is no need.
Let me double check, but yeah, here, everyone with the link can edit. So anyone you see here, there are 8 people as well.
Các bạn không cần phải có tài khoản Mirror mới vào đây được nha. Cứ bấm vào cái link thì nó sẽ hiện ra cũng giống như là Google Docs.
So maybe we give 5 minutes for everyone to complete this first exercise, so we move to the next one after, to not overload with information. Is that okay?
That sounds good.
Sure. Chúng ta sẽ dành 5 phút cho cái hoạt động này.
There's this the tools to use Miro for the ones who have not used before Miro. They're on the left side. There's one that's called connection line tool that can be helpful. And the instructions are also again above descripted. But you're also welcome to use any other of the tools of Miro if there's like a sticky note or something like this to explain what you're imagining for your self-evaluation.
I can copy paste the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers on the side also if you want, so you can directly copy on your board.
Có bạn nào không thấy cái phần màu đen không? Cái phần bảng để điền á. Mình thấy có một bạn visiting Mirror Hero đang để con trỏ ở chỗ resources. Nếu mà muốn di chuyển qua cái phần self evaluation á, thì bạn có thể là nếu mà đang xài chuột thì có thể nhấp chuột phải xong rồi kéo thì nó sẽ đẩy cái board này sang phần self evaluation ha. Đúng rồi, bạn đang di chuyển đúng đó. Tại vì có nhiều cái copy của cái self evaluation template rồi cho nên là cứ chọn đại cái nào đó đầu tiên là được.
No worries, Joe. I can move back the card. Cynthia, is it working for you in the meantime?
Not really.
Okay, if you want, as Daphne mentioned before, you're in the mirror board, correct?
Yeah.
So you see the part where there are the self-evaluation bits, right?
Yes. Yep.
So you see in the introduction, there are red lines and some.
Hang on. Where are you? Whereabouts?
On the top. I can also reshare my screen if that's helpful.
On the top.
So if you're in there and you see the example.
Yeah.
So you see
the
here
one
these,
the 5 that she showed initially. Yeah.
Exactly. So you will have here these lines, and if you want, you can just copy paste them with Command copy and then just drag them down where you want them. So for example, taking all of these, copy paste them, and let's say this one is yours, Cynthia, and then you can just like, when they're in here, you kind of like move them in the way that you think. For example, maybe you're better in one thing than the other, and then you can just like move them. And the more important part is actually the one to the right, because I'm gonna delete this part. I'm sorry. Is the numbers. So if you just copy paste.
Oh, I see. So people have to copy the numbers down, right? It's not like they can click on the field and
Yeah,
type.
you can also just type. I mean, it's just easier to copy paste them and change the numbers according to what is right for you. You can also type, because there's like this text tool, which is on the left, which you see here if you're watching the Zoom screen right now. And there you can type a 3, for example, and then it's whatever you want, whichever number you want. But by copy paste, it's a bit easier for someone who has not used Miro before.
Sorry, I couldn't hear anything for a while. Something was happening with my headphones. I don't know
No
if you
worries.
asked me.
Oh, good, Daphne. Don't worry.
It's okay if you move the board. It happens all the time. You're less than the board, so you can delete it and use another one also. It's no problem.
Có ai cần được hỗ trợ không?
Maybe. Oh. Sorry, can I ask a question? Is it 5 that's the highest or the lowest? Like you're the best or the worst?
It could be either way, but I think I said 1 is the highest, the best.
Okay,
so it's
great.
like a hierarchy. Yes.
Yep, that's fine. I just need to know which way. I couldn't remember.
No worries about not being able to do it, not now. See, I see your message in the channel. You're more than invited to do it during the week. So no worries about that. And we will come back to this exercise in week number 4. So it would be nice if everyone who's attending has it until then. And maybe for some people that might not join today, but next week will hopefully be able to add their content later on.
Yes, exactly. Maybe if almost everyone is done, I can start explaining the second part, and whoever is done can continue. And of course, as Jessica said, you will have time to do this over until the next time. And so the second board is more about your personal interest. I put an example above, and it's then your name, of course, the profession in which you identify, and that could be more than one. And in the stickers, you can add some of your interests. right now they don't have to do directly the test of your design. They can be your interest when it comes to design, when it comes to art, when it comes to your personal interest. So anything, exactly. Like also Jessica is putting some examples. And feel free. It doesn't have to be, there is no wrong or right answers. It doesn't have to be something very specific. Yeah, I see Jessica is making her own.
Hello, Doi. I see your message because you're joining with the smartphone, and I will try to add your information for you. Obviously, you're invited afterwards to revisit it and to to make it better.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries.
It takes some time to get used to this new tool.
Yeah, no worries about it. That's we know that for the people who use it the first time, it takes a bit of a time, but afterwards it's like a playground a bit. So you can explore, do things, and you can get quite creative in it. And it's really nice to work with it together because everyone is in the same canvas. So you see other people working, you can work collaboratively. So it gives a really good opportunity to work together on a project, for example, for UI or UX design or for a workshop or something like this, if you don't live in the same space or same area. So it's a really nice tool to work with. And so we're doing a small exercise also today to get to know it. And we will use it a bit more in the future as well. So you get the hang of it maybe in the near future. So maybe we give, I'm gonna give this maybe 2 more minutes and then we can do a little wrap up, and the finishing of the exercise can be done whenever you have time during the week.
it would be nice if we just fill in the number and it draws for us, like in the diagram.
Yes, it would be nice. Unfortunately, Miro doesn't do this type of magic, but maybe in the future it will be possible.
Yes.
But it's okay. Don't worry about the diagram. It's more about understanding more or less and doing the self-assessment. And the numbers are more than enough.
So I see some people have added some of the information already, which is great. Maybe we can slowly wrap up the session to be respective of the time frame that we have been given. And I know it is now a fun new playground to to figure out, but as we mentioned, we have time during the week as well to do this. Yeah, so let me wrap up the session a bit. Thank you, Daphne, again for preparing this amazing exercise. It's the first one in our journey, so let's see if we get better with the tool in the future. To give a little bit of a wrap up, so we had today a brief introduction to the topic of distributed design. Of course, it encompasses many things. Some we have been able to cover in our small conversation afterwards. And thanks again for all the contributions from every one of you. It's really nice to hear your point of view and challenges that you also see, which are very much valid, and things that we question also ourselves. And it was really nice that you were all able to join today. So next week, we're going to have Marion Real, our dear colleague, joining us most likely from France because she's located there. We also have a distributed team a bit. And she will talk about sustainable practices in design. Specifically, she will talk about systemic design, which is her doctorate background. And she will introduce the topic itself, and we'll also go into some specific examples. And afterwards, we will again use Miro board to do a practice how systemic design in a short, very small exercise can be applied into a material or impact assessment, which is one part of a systemic design approach or a sustainable design approach. So this is one little part of a very big topic, but we hope that this could be an exercise or a practice that you will be having as a tool or something that you can also apply in the future for your own projects. So this is idea for next week. And I hope you all enjoyed today's session, and we're really excited to see you again next week.
Thank you, Jessica. Tuần sau mọi người sẽ được gặp một speaker từ Pháp, cô Marion Diaz. Mình nhớ không nhầm.
Real.
Cô sẽ chia sẻ về thiết kế mang tính hệ thống và đánh giá tác động. Thì hy vọng là mọi người enjoy cái bữa hôm nay, và tuần sau mình sẽ gặp lại để làm nhiều thứ thú vị hơn. Cái link mirror này nó sẽ còn được mở cho đến hết khóa học, cho nên là mọi tuần sau tức là từ giờ đến tuần sau mọi người có thể vào đây bằng máy tính để thao tác và hoàn thành nếu mà tối hôm nay chưa có kịp làm hết. Có bạn nào có comment hay là câu hỏi gì cuối buổi không? I just told everyone that they can still go into the Miro board from after this class to complete the exercise if they have any questions they can ask now, or we also have the ILO platform, right? Ban tổ chức có chia sẻ cái đường link đến một cái platform online để mà đặt câu hỏi hay là trao đổi thông tin trong khóa học cũng như là dự án đó. Mọi người vào Hilo để gửi nội dung lên sau cái buổi hôm nay nha. Hình như là trong lớp mình thì chưa có đăng ký vào trong cái platform đó hết. Mọi người cố gắng sắp xếp để lên đó luôn. Well, I don't think anyone has any question, and if not, they can always go to Hilo to post.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jessica, and Daphne.
Thank you, Mai, for always for the translation. And I hope to see you next week.
It's been lots to take in, so take a little while to digest it all. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. See you next week.
See you next week. I hope it's been useful.
Thank you very much. Wishing you a nice evening.
Same to you. Thank you, Shell. Cảm ơn mọi người nha. Nếu mà bạn nào có câu hỏi gì có thể hỏi bây giờ hoặc là post lên Hilo nha. Chúc mọi người buổi tối vui vẻ. Nếu mà có phản hồi hay là góp ý gì cho ban tổ chức thì rất là welcome nha mọi người.
Mai, should I leave open or should I end it? Because I'm host of the session. If I'm leaving, I think I'm ending the whole call just to ask.
Okay, I think, I don't think anyone has any questions. I just asked. All right then.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
sorry. See you next week when we talk.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jessica. Right, goodbye. See you again.
Goodbye.
Bye.